Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the podcast. This is Robert Allen, the business of pickleball, and my cohort, David Feldman. Want to say hi, David?
I'm here, Dave Feldman, editor-in-chief, in-house resident pickleball master.
Is that so?
All right, I challenge you to a match, David.
I'd like to see that. That's not what I've heard. We have an intern that's been teaching David a little bit about pickleball.
Yeah, we have.
Oh, good. An intern, female or male?
Yeah, male. Yeah.
He's definitely better than me at pickleball. I'll give him that. So
He's pretty good. He's pretty good from what I hear. Well, David, do you want to introduce today's guest? There's a third voice that's been interacting with us momentarily here, but we'll all get to know him a little bit more. David, do you want to introduce Gordon?
Yeah. So we got Gordon Jones with us from Pickle Zone, and he's doing some pretty cool stuff with tech, which is kind of the focus that I wanted to. It's just been on my mind a lot lately. We're going to be talking about it in the upcoming monthly briefing that's going to drop on the 15th, and so. Or, if you're listening to this later, you can go back and look at the tech briefing that we dropped. But, Gordon Jones is doing some really cool stuff. We want to pick his brain on not only what he's doing, but just his ideas and his thoughts, because he's really dialed in and tapped into just tech and pickleball as a whole, just get his thoughts and ideas on that. So I think that's kind of where we're going to head in the conversation today.
Excellent. Cool. Hey, Gordon, do you want to just take a second and say hi and introduce yourself? Just give us your credentials and your bio.
Sure, man. So Gordon Jones. So I have a doctorate in health administration. My doctoral dissertation a long time ago was how healthcare can adopt the internet into making healthcare better. Okay. And so that was in the late 90s. So that's not to tell you how old I am. It's just to tell you the experience I have in tech and how ecosystems can adopt all this emerging tech into their industry and make them more efficient. Even though healthcare sucks and is very inefficient, even though we've plowed billions and billions and millions of dollars of tech into healthcare, still bad. So how did I get to where I am today? So after the 90s, I started becoming an entrepreneur, and I created the first web interface for a physician billing system. So before it was all DOS based, you had to type in your instructions and everything. So that kind of kicked off. We exited out of that, did another startup bringing some computer assisted surgery systems out of Israel, actually based on Israel missile radar technology. That was to help implant dental implants. So that was very cool. And then a whole bunch of other things, both in healthcare and out of healthcare. Bought my first Bitcoin in 2013. Didn't really do much with that from a technical standpoint. Just was messing around trying to figure out what all this stuff is. And then in 2017, we actually designed a new type of health finance program, leveraging the decentralization of blockchain and cryptocurrency. That was called Universal Health Coin. The only problem, the business model and everything was very good. The problem was the whole crypto market had our crypto winter of 2018. And then after that, the SEC started jumping in, and we were already going to tick off the insurance companies with our business model. So we didn't want the FDA and the DHA and the HHS and all those guys coming after us, plus the SEC and the FDIC and all that kind of stuff. So we didn't do that project. But what I started to do was educate my legislatures, the governor here in South Carolina, on what this tech means and how South Carolina can build a whole industry on this emerging tech to enhance the economic development of the state of South Carolina. And we've been doing that since 2017. We even have brought in some Bitcoin miners into South Carolina and some really cool stuff around all that. But But that all being said, in 2020, I got asked by the Dean of the College of Information and Communications at the University of South Carolina to create a course on blockchain, crypto, and I added in privacy because a lot of this is all wrapped around, especially data privacy. So I've been teaching that since 2020, still teaching it now. Do teach it 2 days a week for the most part. But I had pretty much retired in 22. And then I got introduced to the game of pickleball at a wedding in February of 23, so a year ago today. And my cousin, who we grew up playing tennis, and he's been out in California for his whole adult life, and he's been playing pickleball for 10 years. So he asked me if I'd played yet, and I said no. And he talked to me about it and said, it's really cool. You need to do this. And so when I came back to Augusta, where I live, I heard that our Parks and Recreation was having an indoor tournament that weekend. So I went to Walmart, got me a pickleball paddle. I kind of banged it around a little bit on the tennis courts in my neighborhood, but I didn't play any matches or anything until the tournament. So my very first match of pickleball was at a pickleball indoor tournament. And it was singles. I didn't play doubles because I didn't have a doubles partner. So I played singles. And of course, I got spanked. But I still loved it because I loved the competition. I loved all the people that I met who live here locally that are now friends. So I started playing a little bit. But then I said, well, I'm retired, so maybe I can make some money off of teaching and coaching pickleball and all that. So I got certified through PPR, USA Pickleball. And while I was going through that process, I said, you know what? There's not enough certified coaches around the country to actually teach the 49 million or 13 million or 9 million, however many people we actually are playing pickleball. There's not enough certified coaches to teach them how to actually play, right? So they go out to their neighborhood. They just learn by playing. So I said, well, maybe I need to create a course. I'm not an expert, but I know how to teach. So I can teach pickleball to the masses through a video course. Well, because I'm a technology entrepreneur and all that, I started going down this road of creating this course. I found out about this startup down in Miami called Delphi at Delphi.ai. And they were actually creating twins, digital twins of people. And so I went and checked it out. I met the founders. We got along real great. And so I built a clone of me on AI to help teach my course. And I wasn't planning on doing anything big with that. And then ultimately I met the guys at Pickle Zone, Jude Thomas and Dan Brinker, and Mike Fox, who are the principals. And they were looking at AI, but they didn't know a whole lot about it. So anyway, so I said, well, man, we need to team up and figure this thing out and how we can help augment what you're doing at Pickle Zone. And we'll talk about that later. But what you're doing at Pickle Zone and how you can incorporate this AI explosion to help all pickleball players, even pros, and then all the way down to your beginner novice. So now I'm doing a lot of other stuff in the AI clone side, not just with pickleball, but in pickleball, I'm working with Pickle Zone, which is at picklezone.com. And we can talk about that too. But so I bring all of my 40 plus year experience in the tech world to the sport of pickleball. So I love what I'm doing because this pickleball is fun as hell, man. I just love playing and going out. And my Monday night play didn't happen because it was raining. So we had to play on Tuesday night, which is a whole different group of people that I normally play with. So there were new people I didn't know how to beat. So I did get beat because I didn't know how to beat them. So, but anyway.
Well, that's excellent. One thing I was thinking about when we first met you was in that first conversation was when you started explaining a lot of your background and what you were bringing to the table. I immediately went into club ownership mindset mode
Okay.
where I was thinking, because
Yeah.
we're trying, I've been working on a project here to try and bring a private club for a long time, and we've been wrestling with different aspects of retention, like first attracting a certain type of player to the club environment and then retaining them over time. And when I saw some of the examples that you shared with us, I was like, this looks like the holy grail. I mean, it really looked like it addressed a lot of those things, because Dave and I talk about it, and I'll let Dave elaborate on it a little bit, but we look at the actual facility as like a content platform, where, you just adjust the dials of, what's being served up to the different avatars inside of that platform based on what their interest level is and how often they engage and what they want to do. But David, do you want to speak to that a little bit? And then maybe we can get back to some of the questions for Gordon as far as like how his systems do that.
Yeah, I mean, I view AI technology and how it's incorporating into clubs, or how clubs need to be incorporating into their business model as, obviously pickleball is the main draw, but pickleball club owners need to be thinking of their facility as a live canvas that every square inch needs to be monetized in some way, and using technology to do that. Using technology to increase, to provide upsells, to provide benefits or value stacks for their premium memberships, or kind of however they're going to integrate it into their system. But there's so many ways that technology can be integrated into a club, even franchise owners. And we're talking to franchise owners too. And I feel like just the people that I've talked to, they're all in a race to start integrating as much tech as possible into like improving, not only streamlining the user experience, but streamlining their ability to run the club, and just kind of streamlining everything. So I don't know. I think it's an interesting concept, that this whole idea of technology and making sure that club owners are aware of how they can utilize this to better monetize what they're doing. I feel like, honestly, it's like there's just, people got their fingers open. There's money, falling through their fingers because they're not taking advantage of a lot of opportunities that are out there. And yeah, anyways, thoughts on that?
So one term we heard yesterday, Gordon, which maybe you can talk about, is that in some of these franchise environments, they're talking about their business models are based on a tech forward concept, where everything they're doing is going to incorporate tech because they realize that that's the way forward. So can you talk to that a little bit about how you see that and how, your company is addressing that and what your vision for it is?
So first of all, I want to kind of lay it down. So from my expertise in healthcare, everything was wrapped around the doctor-patient relationship. Okay. And how does tech help reduce the administrative burden of the doctor and time away from the patient? Okay. And then how does technology help the patient find, get to, and relate with their doctor and or nurse practitioner or primary care, whatever it is? So I see that here in pickleball as the club and the people in the club are the owners of the club, or the coach of the club is the doctor, and all of the members / visitors are their patient, or the entity that they want to build a very strong intimate relationship with. So that's the way I'm looking at this. So now, because of the technology we have today, we can integrate a lot of existing technologies with the new technology fairly easy. So imagine this. So you've found the club through traditional marketing, and you ended up joining the club. So now you're a member of the club. Every interaction with that club now can be driven by some form of AI. I mean, at the biggest level of it is, let's say you're walking around The AI knows you're present. You walked in the front door, you checked in, you're in. It could identify you. So through facial recognition, it could say, okay, that's Gordon. Hey, I'm hanging out in the apparel section looking for a new pair of shorts. And I have a question. And I say, hey, Pickle, I'm looking at these shorts, but I'm not sure these are right for my type of play. What do you recommend? And there's a speaker right above me that says, oh, hey, Gordon, how's it going? Well, whatever. Here's what I think based upon your play, activity, numbers of times you play a week, that it already knows about me because I've been playing there for a year or whatever. And it assists me. Or I'm a new person and I'm walking around and I can't find the bathrooms. So, hey, Pickle, where are the bathrooms? It knows where I am in the facility and it says, oh, well, turn right, turn left, and you'll be at the bathroom. I mean, that's just like the crazy part of all this stuff, right? Mm-hmm. The other side of it is, okay, how does this stuff integrate with the club court scheduling system, the membership platform, the point of sale, because all of those are separate systems. And most of those don't actually talk to each other very easily yet, especially unless you're really find one that's already integrated. And then you find a really good court reservation system, but the point of sale that's attached to it really sucks, Mm-hmm. So you want to be able to pick and choose the one that's going to fit your business model the best, and then they be integrated. Well, AI can do that at a much easier way of integration than just trying to do all these APIs and everything. I mean, it's all API driven, but the central entity there is the AI, not trying to do patchwork between the different applications. And so the other cool thing about AI is it knows the facility. It knows the brand of the facility. It knows all of the inventory of the facility. Let's say it also has food and beverage, knows all that. And then it knows me. So it knows which paddle I like to rent or use or buy, what clothes I like to wear, what sandwich I like to order, what brand of beer I like to. In 12:30 in the afternoon, after I've been playing for 2 hours, I want a beer. But if I'm here at night, I want a whiskey, right? Or whatever it is, right? And it's going to know all that. I mean, ultimately, just like, have you ever been a member of any of these business clubs, city clubs?
Yeah.
You walk into the city club, everybody knows your name. You have no idea how they know your name, right? But they all know your name because they train all those people to do that. Well, today's food and beverage, it's rotating in and out. People don't like to work more than 6 months and then they go find another job. So I think using AI within the club setting will help build the relationship between the club and the member, no matter who's working there.
Yeah. It'll become a very
that's kind of my vision about all this. Ultimately, is because I like to play pickleball. I like to go to my club to play pickleball. I like to play pickleball with my community players. Every now and then we might go up to Aiken or Atlanta to play in a tournament, but I'm going with my buddies to play. And then we're just competing with those other ones. So, and then that brings in the whole other thing of, okay, well, how do we feed our duper score and all that kind of stuff? So we can talk about that. But at the end of the day, I see everything being driven around the engagement between the facilities, whether it's a club or whether it's a Parks and Rec center or something like that. We can still have relationships with the regular players. And that's what all this will do, is help enhance that relationship.
So just on one, the thing that immediately comes to mind for me is, how do you, because it's such a varied, dynamic set of demographic, the end user, how do you bridge all the generations, and how do you see the adoption or the reduction of friction in the adoption of these platforms in these environments? I mean, what do you think about that?
Well, at the end of the day, our demographic right now. So now there are some programs that are starting off in community centers trying to get the inner city kids to play and all that stuff. But at the end of the day, virtually everybody who's in our demographic for pickleball has a mobile device. So everything can be driven at that level. Now, it really sucks that I have to integrate with pickleball brackets, Court Reserve, or whatever other tournament app that tournament is using. So let me step back. So in the world of decentralized blockchain world, what's going on? So when the internet was created, there was no protocol for an identity. So what do we use as our identity today? It's usually our email address. Okay. What I think ultimately needs to happen just from that perspective is I need to create my digital identity, and it needs to flow across all platforms. Okay. So that's another kind of mission of mine is, okay, because that's the work I've done at the University of South Carolina is what's a digital identity and how do you create your own and make it self-sovereign.
Next question about that. What about MAC IDs on cell phones? I heard those are actually more of a identifier than anything else. Is that true or not true?
Yeah, but you might be interacting with the entity without your mobile device. Okay. So yes, it might be primary, but if that's your identity and you don't have access to your device, then it's good for banking. It's good for that kind of stuff or any fintech stuff that, yes, you have to use your mobile phone. But once I walk into the facility, I'm putting my phone in my locker. Now I might have my Apple Watch or my fitness app. So that could transfer. But I think having a digital identity that will flow through the different facilities. So these the franchisors are picking platforms to operate on.
Yeah.
And then they're duplicating that in their 100 clubs around the country, whatever. But you can't go from one club to another club because the other club's using a different system.
That's right.
Now an entity like Duper, you can carry your Duper score with that, but that's because Duper has the platform that's doing APIs with all these guys, right? But then that's just your score, okay? That's just your rating. That's not your preferences for what time you like to play and where you like to play and who you like to play and what you like to buy, okay?
Yeah.
So Duper's not the answer, but Duper's doing the thing for ratings correctly in that they're making sure that they're just embedded in everybody's app. Mm-hmm. Right. Mm-hmm. So from from a personal standpoint, I mean, it is a Duper identity. You know, they would love that because then they're going to make all that money. But at the end of the day, if you're thinking decentralization, which is the world we're trying to move to, or if you're a blockchain person, is I want to self-sovereign my own digital identity. And we're working for that framework to where that just floats around the internet and everything that I do, which would then include everything that I do in pickleball. But that's a bigger thing. Mm-hmm. But we do have to solve that problem. Because, for example, with Pickle Zone, I want to challenge David and his intern. So Everett and I want to come across town to play David and the intern. Okay?
Andrew. Yeah.
Intern.
Yeah. Andrew the intern.
We're challenging you to a match, which is the Pickle Zone model. Now we have to find a court. Okay, so is it going to be in your club, my club, or the public courts? Okay, so we find that if it's in your club, you guys charge $10 for guest fees. My club, we don't. We just allow you to come in, right? So the system needs to know that to make that suggestion. Okay. And say, hey, David, Gordon's club doesn't charge a guest fee. Do you guys want to save $20 and come over there? That type of thing. So that all needs to be built inside the system And then it needs to be able to schedule. So if they're using Court Reserve or whatever, it needs to be able to ping that system, find out if there's a court available, and make the reservation. And then, hey, if David's club knows that we might be going to my club, David's club might have some kind of incentive program in place to say, no, come play your match over here, and we'll give you a discount on your beer or something. So there's just a whole bunch of ways that we can actually build inside of that to automate even that whole process. So
that sounds really cool.
Yeah.
Is that what Pickle Zone is doing? Is that that's Pickle Zone?
So that is what we're working towards. So we don't want to have a court reservation system. We want to be able to operate with every court management system.
Yeah, you operate above the court management.
Yeah, because what we're focused on is we want to enhance player experience, no matter where they are and who they're playing. So what we want to do is make sure that we want you to be able to find a player to play and then manage that process of scheduling your play, capturing your scores, and that being the other thing that Pickle Zone does. We've created a crypto token, a digital asset, if you will, on Ethereum, which is a version of a blockchain, so that we can now, first of all of that data can never be deleted. It's always embedded in the file that's attached to the blockchain. So if you're scoring, you can't manipulate your scoring, even if you know how to hack into our system, because the scoring's embedded on the blockchain, which then brings trust to the scoring system. But now we have a token that's our reward system. So we incentivize players to play by rewarding them for playing. So even if you lose your match, you can still earn Pickle Zone rewards. Okay. Now the winner, you may have wagered, right? And the winner may have earned more rewards for winning than you did for losing, but you both will still get rewards for activity. Okay. And so we want to do that. So we want to enable the whole ecosystem to adopt this token system so that the rewards, so like if you've got $1,000 worth of rewards in Pickle Zones, maybe that goes towards your club membership, or maybe that allows you to play in a minor league, bring your whole team to a minor league pickleball tournament, or buy a Pero or a rack or paddles or whatever. So that's the other aspect. So on Pickle Zone, we want to incentivize players to play. So that's our whole mission. And because we want more people to play pickleball, and we believe that just by using our little capability of challenge matching inside our app, then leads to everything else being used. And then we just want our token to be used within that whole ecosystem.
Yeah. As far as the token side of it, the gamification sort of aspect of it, how far is that already operational, or is that something that you guys?
So the token system, our blockchain, we call it our blockchain operating system. It's already done. We already have an NFT, which is a non-fungible token. Lots of your audience probably doesn't really know what that is, but basically it's a digital asset. Well, that digital asset now currently represents 5,000 Pickle Zone tokens. And so they could go today and buy the NFT, which when we create the tokens, which will be later in February or March, they'll automatically have 5,000 tokens. Okay. And then that just then kicks off their ability to interact within the ecosystem. Okay. But yeah, so the blockchain side of it's done. Our mobile application we're testing now in what we call an MVP, or a minimal viable product. So internally, we got people playing with it and saying, well, we need to do this, this, and this. We're also raising more money. So we're busy raising money to pay for all this stuff. We've already done the friends and family. We're kind of on a seed level right now. We do have people at the table we're talking to, so we're we're positive that we are going to get invested in. Let's put it that way.
I'll bet. Okay, well, so David, do you, as from the filter of, software, apps, AI, technology, and sort of the briefing that you're writing, and Gordon's been a big part of that. Is there any aspect of that you want to ask Gordon about, or to elaborate on, or to think about?
Yeah, you talk about a lot of, it almost seems like Back to the Future 2 type, technology, walking into a pro shop and having an AI voice talk to you and give you recommendations and stuff like that. How far into the future is that? Is it feasible for clubs to integrate that currently? Is it like how
All right,
far
so yeah. So on the player side, so a player who wants to upskill their abilities, we already have a digital coach. So Scott Moore, who's the winningest world champion in the history of pickleball thus far, recent inductee into the Pickleball Hall of Fame, we've cloned Scott Moore. So we now have a digital twin of Scott Moore and his voice trained on the way he teaches pickleball. So it's not, so his clone's AI based, so it's not going out and doing ChatGPT and all that BS. It's only trained on Scott's training methods and what he teaches. So you can already go to picklezone.com and have a conversation with Scott about your play. What the vision is,
and y'all should do that. It's actually impressive to go do it.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
All right. So what we're working to do is now, so you have companies like Swing Vision, PlaySite, VS Sports, AI.io, all these apps that take video of players, athletes in different sports. Some of them are developing just for pickleball. So one of them's called Pickleball Vision. They're a startup, two guys.
We talked to them. Yeah.
So they're getting into pickleball. Swing Vision's working on theirs now. I think PlaySide is working on theirs now. So these guys are all going to be these apps out there that you can use to video your play. And then there are varying capabilities of how they do statistics and all that. So we're working with them to say, well, we need this from you. So we're working on that. But at the end of the day, they're taking video. They can turn that into data. Okay. Backhand, forehand, the position of the paddle to the ball, where you struck the ball in the court to win or lose the point, your positioning of you and your partner opposed to your opposition. All of that data Pickle Zone will absorb through the video stream. Okay. That, first of all, is going to help us. If you want to push a button and send that data, like your match play, to your Duper score, you'll be able to do that. Okay. You don't have to send it to Duper if you don't want to. Okay. And in some cases, like if you're just rallying, that data is not going to count towards a Duper rating anyway. But we want it because then what we're going to do is feed that to Coach Moore, the clone. Okay. And then my vision is even real time. You're videotaping your match. Your video data is being interpreted into usable natural language data that we're sending to Coach Scott. And then Scott's going to be able to send you a message back through the app, maybe even to your Apple Watch while you're playing, and say, dude, you need to do this. Quit lobbing that guy because he's smacking the hell out, whatever it is. And so you'll be able to get feedback from Coach Moore. I mean, at the end of the day, it's for skill development, not necessarily for match play, but because we want because we don't have enough coaches, right?
Well, this
I
is
mean,
one of those top tier services you were talking about that like got my brain moving as far as retention. You described a scenario where I play, it's all captured on the court. I'm done. I go home, I'm eating dinner, I pull it up on my phone or, cast it to my TV and I watch myself playing. And then there's the coach. And he's
yes,
saying, here's a shot where you could have done, a lob drive scenario or whatever the situation is. That to me is like,
yes.
that is such deep value if you're really committed to getting better as a player and having that environment and that custom experience.
Well, and you guys mentioned at the beginning that we wanted to figure out something that the industry really will adopt and will ultimately need. So even though this sport's been around since 1965, we're still maturing, right? So not necessarily age. Our age demographics are dropping. Colleges are not starting to have clubs. High school, we even have a middle school club network here in Augusta. So high school, so these kids are starting to play. So what happens in other sports? So professional soccer pays companies to go out and watch high school players play with this video AI to interpret their talent to see if there's somebody that nobody knows about that they can pick up earlier in their age career, right?
Yeah.
We'll be able to do that in pickleball.
Yeah.
Okay. So if the high schoolers are videoing their play, their practices and their matches through the AI, then we'll be able to identify and maybe render up to one of the MLP teams. I mean, the 13-year-olds, 16-year-olds are kicking butt already.
Our top pro here in town is a 15-year-old.
Yeah. So it's like, and yes, that's good that kid's bubbling up to the top for potential MLP and, they're getting a lot of publicity and all that. But there might be a player in middle school who has the ability and the talent, but not the technique yet, that Coach Moore could then help them become that player. So, for example, when I was in high school, in my junior year, we started a soccer team. Never had soccer before. A football coach became our soccer coach. Guess what? We won the 4A state championship in my senior year, just the next year. Why? Because he went and recruited the soccer players from Erskine College, which was 15 minutes away. So he didn't coach us. He found the professionals to do that. Well, they're not all over the place in pickleball. So we can leverage this AI coaching in order to do the same thing, to start really honing the skills of these kids so that they'll be ready. And we've identified them early to prepare them to, pretty soon there'll be college scholarships for this sport.
Of course.
The MLP will be in every city and they'll be trying to recruit the top talent. I mean, Australia's already building their MLP. So Scott Moore's son, Daniel Moore, is in Japan doing the same thing. He just got hired by Japan to turn their, is it mini tennis? There's another game. I think there's another game like tennis, but it's not tennis. But anyway, he's Japanese. He's the world champion in this sport. And they're hired Daniel Moore to turn him into a pickleball professional to start playing MLP and build it in Japan.
Yeah.
And then China's already said that they're going to start throwing a lot of money to this too. So this is going to be worldwide. And we need the technology to help support the industry as a whole. And in particular, the professional side of it, they need to be able to dig down deep into the throes of the millions of kids that are going to be playing this game. I mean, it's going to scale fast.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, once every high school team because it's easy to do. It's even easier to do than a soccer, because soccer, you got to build a soccer field, right?
Right.
Yeah. Pickleball, you just throw some lines on your basketball court and then have a couple of portable nets and you've got a team. So that's where I see all this going.
So one thing I just want to circle back on though is that, and it's not, we don't have to have an answer today, but I am curious. Like one conversation I had yesterday with a consultant who's advising a lot of new club owners. He's like
Devin?
what's that?
Devin?
No, it's not
Okay.
Devin. It's another gentleman, and he was saying that a lot of the conversations he's having are by people that are super passionate about the sport. Have the capital and the finances to do it, and they really are not super savvy on the business side of things in terms of operations and stuff like that. So they're looking for that information. And
so guess what? So in the early 90s, doctors' practices made so much money, they didn't have to manage their business. And then managed healthcare came in, and all of a sudden their margins shrank. They weren't grossing as much money. And because of their inefficiencies, they weren't businessmen. They weren't trained to be businessmen. They weren't operating their practices. There was nobody managing these practices that had any business acumen. I mean, it was like their mother-in-laws were running the front office and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Same thing here. We got a bunch of, as a matter of fact, even here in Augusta, we've got two couples who have come together. They've taken over half of a Bilo that was out of business, and they're putting in 8 courts. And they're business savvy, I'm sure, and all that kind of stuff. I'm not saying they're not, but they just decided to do this, right? So they're having to learn, like they didn't come from operating a tennis club to operating a pickleball club, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think they have some food and beverage in their background, but anyway, it's interesting to watch them, what they're going through. It's mostly the build problems, right? So building out the space. But that's the problem everybody has in every industry is the whole construction side. Of things.
We hope to address like a lot of just the foundational business, considerations, the principles of building a company, in particular, then mapping that or correlating it to pickleball and the business side of that. But that being said, the tech side too is like there's that sort of tech gap. Some people are in different stages of knowledge, and then some people are in just pure denial and resistance mode.
They just want to put some pickleball courts down and play pickleball.
That's right.
Right, which is fine. That's all I want to do too, man.
But then you get to the reality of what we're talking about, like retention and actually having that custom, personal, one-on-one experience.
Yeah.
Do you have? So I know obviously your company is doing that, but what do you think about bridging that gap and shortening that cycle to get to the point where somebody who's not tech savvy or very friendly towards it, starts to look at this and say, "Hey,
so from a learning, so I teach, right? So I develop courses and I teach. So at the end of the day, so one of the things I'm doing with Scott Moore's clone, he's got his 40 videos in a course that he's had for a year and a half or so now. We're embedding his clone inside the course. So you can watch a video and kind of get that lesson, but now you'll be able to ask Scott more in depth about that particular lesson. So maybe there's some way to build a coursework on teaching people to operate clubs, which the franchisors are doing that, right? So that's why you pay them. It'll be interesting to see which one is the most successful. But there's a lot of money being thrown into it.
Yeah.
And some of them are coming to us to help on the tech side, right? So say, hey, listen, we need everything. We're real estate guys. We want to get a hold of this boom. We're bought the land and we're designing everything, but we need the tech people to come in and help us put it together. So we're already getting some of that too, and that's cool with us because we see how we can. What we'll do is we'll usually bring 3 options to the table, 3 POS options, 3 court reserve options, 3 food and beverage options, so that owners can choose which one they want to use so that we don't say use this and then screw up and then they blame us. And But then all that we want tied in with Pickle Zone so that, because we're kind of the consumer side of it, right? So we want to serve the individual player and then help them build a relationship with their clubs that are also in our network. So we just want to be able to tie into all those systems. So the ones that we offer as options will have been ones we've already developed integrations with. But at the end of the day, if we're not engaging the players. So for example, we know a Northern California guy, he just built, I think he just put 10 courts in a hangar, and then he's going to put 12 or 20 more outdoors. He oversold his memberships. I mean, in like a month. Okay. Our club here, the Hammond Hills Suburban Pickleball Club, we sold half of the memberships we need. I mean, we're full on open night. I mean, we got like paddles up on the fences, all the yin-yang on open nights. But from a daily play standpoint, it's pretty much open night. And then some people go out and play on during the day, but the courts aren't packed. So I think it's also, what marketplace you're in.
Mm-hmm. Well,
on how fast you're going to.
Yeah, that's where some of that tech can really help.
Yeah, but that's all market research stuff you got to do, And our club was the second in the whole of Augusta to get rid of the tennis courts and turn them into pickleball courts. So it's a pickleball facility. We have 6 courts. There's another one in town where they have 8. But they're both outdoor. So all the indoor plays on basketball courts and rec centers and churches, right?
Yeah.
And they're not trying to run these things to make money off of. They're the citizens of North Augusta, South Carolina said, we want to play pickleball in the facility we're paying for. And so they put up some tape and bought some nets.
Yeah, same here. Same here.
And so we can play indoor there, but it's not a facility for pickleball. So in a market like Augusta, which we have, the metro area is about 126,000, but the region area is well over 500,000, and the greater Augusta is over 1 million people. So there's a lot of people here, but they're not playing pickleball yet. We might have maybe 1,000 active players here. I would say. That are willing to pay a annual membership at some level.
Yeah, it's very similar to this.
But that's coming up. I mean, like I said, our schools are starting to build clubs and
collegiate programs, all that stuff. David, what about your situation? Like, you guys already have a private club. How big is your market?
100,000 people probably here in like Idaho Falls area.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how this indoor club does. And it's all marketing. I mean, there's not a whole lot of marketing they have to do to expose. It's already been exposed to all the players that play today. Well, so then they just have to build programs that are going to attract.
That's it. That's what I was going to say. We talked to a franchise company, and their whole thing is a smaller footprint with less courts, but maximizing every hour of court usability.
Right.
And then once they max that out, then they talk about a second location within a certain proximity. But we thought that was very smart, as opposed to these giant facilities where they're going to put in 20 courts and then hope to fill them.
Well, but the thing about that's all a real estate play for the most part. I mean, these guys, because at the end of the day, if they build a restaurant inside of it and so if you want to make money off of restaurants, you buy the land and build the building, and then you let the 25 different restaurants come in and out over the years that are coming in and out, and you still own the building, you're doing good. And you just let the restaurant, because restaurants come and go, right?
Yeah.
And so if you build that, so that's their mindset, right? Is they're building the infrastructure. Because at the end of the day, if they build a shell with 8 courts in it, and then for whatever pickleball goes away, now they got a shell building with 8 courts in it that they could do other stuff with, right?
Exactly right.
I mean, put a public storage unit in there. So,
Yeah.
I mean, that's what their play is.
Yep.
I don't know what like Pickler's model is. I don't know if Pickler's actually buying the land, because you go back to the Crocs, right? So Ray Kroc, he made all of his money off of the land, owning the land under the McDonald's, not from the McDonald's, right?
Yeah.
So that's their model too. That's all these real estate guys are doing it because they, hey, this is a way to pay for building the infrastructure for something over the next 100 years of the life of that land, right?
Mm-hmm.
And stuff will come and go and all that. Now so what my vision is here in Augusta is to actually create the Augusta Pickleball Club that is just like the Augusta National, right?
Yeah.
So the Augusta National hosts the Masters.
Yeah.
So they're a private club. I don't necessarily want to be as exclusive as that, but I want it to be where it's an everlasting generational thing, right?
Yep.
So the generations come, the kid. And that's the other cool thing about pickleball is, hey, I can go play with my granddaughter and include her mother, and we all do real well on the pickleball court, right? So if we can build a club, a really nice club environment around that, then it'll be sustainable, right? I mean, all these golf clubs around the country, I just don't understand it. I mean, they have to buy all this land to build a golf course and then a club, and then they have to have 20,000 rounds a year to pay for it, right? But they get it. They get it. So there's a business model for pickleball.
There's been a lot of consolidation in that market too, because some of those business plans have become obsolete. But yeah, no, I get your point.
Right.
But
that's natural. That's natural based on the market too. But there's still guys buying land and building.
I'm on the ramps too.
There are still guys buying land and building golf courses.
Yeah, of course. Yes. There'll always be a new boom. So, Dave, what else do you want to cover here? And then we're getting close to the end of time here. But what do you want to cover? Anything we've left out?
I don't think so. I think we can pretty much wrap it up. But circling back to the technology and the idea of implementing technology, we kind of got on this conversation where we were talking about pickleball club owner just starting up and moving into the space, somebody that had never done this before, or kind of a novice that's just kind of coming in, maybe a land developer that's trying to do it. And the thought that I had is there is some sort of value ladder to this technology. This stuff that you're talking about, Gordon, it is in the future. It's coming, but it's in the future. And these owners, I think they need to walk up step by step in their technology. So the first point is, what's my point of sale? What's my court reserve system? Like, what accounting software am I going to use? What, am I going to have, check-in kiosk, or what tournament software am I going to use? Or am I going to use a paper and a clipboard? And
right.
And they need to start making these decisions. And they also need to be aware that there are apps out there currently that aren't, if you're going around and running your league with a paper and a clipboard, there's probably an app out there that can help you automate.
Oh, there is.
Automate that.
I'm sure you've talked to him too.
Yeah, I have actually. But then they step up. They step up into, okay, well, now I need some coaching for my players. Well, what are the options there? I can hire some coaches. I can look into AI coaching. With what you're talking about with Scumore, maybe I can even clone my own coaches locally and start working some sort of program like that. Yeah. And then you take a step up even from there. All right, we can even go even further. We can have AI, voice activated video cameras and microphones in our whole facility. I mean, we can make this but I think before people get overwhelmed, I think a good reminder, just closing out this, kind of wrapping this conversation up with a bow, is just, there's a value ladder to tech that we're going to see, because everybody's at a different place that's listening to this podcast right now. There's somebody that's thinking about starting, and there's also a franchise owner and a franchise, president that's listening to this and thinking like, well, what's the next step for us? And maybe the next step for, franchise XYZ that has 150 locations coming up in the next year, maybe their step is, hey, we need to get with Pickle Zone. We need to start doing some gamification stuff in our clubs. We need to do this. And the step for, John and Jane Doe that are just starting a little, 3-court pickleball club in their local empty warehouse. The next step for them is probably not voice activated AI. The next step for them is, we need to identify the apps that we can use.
Yep.
To streamline our business and help us run it so that it's profitable based on our cost per square foot of, in our business plan. So,
and that's what you guys are doing is identifying all those, right?
Yeah, that's what.
Yeah, so that's cool. Hey, maybe what we'll do is we'll create a course, that you guys have created, and then we'll create the David and Robert clones to teach them.
That'd be cool. Yeah. Hey, I don't know if somebody could. Anyways, we'll have to make some tweaks to me. But anyways, I was going to say is
I can make you look as good as you want.
You have a voice for radio, Robert. You have a voice for radio, Robert. You're the
you do. You have a good voice,
Walter Cronkite Jr.
Yeah.
I was going to say so. We'll put like David said, a bow on it here, but we'll do this again. I want to get an update in a while and on how things are going for your project.
Sure. Well, we're buds now, man, so we'll keep up.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Sure. And then if anybody wants to reach out to you, where would be the best place to connect with you?
Picklezone.com. You can go there.
Okay.
That's the best. That's the easiest way.
And that way they can actually.
Gordon at picklezone.com if you want to just email me.
Okay.
I am all over LinkedIn too. So
we'll put your
if you're in LinkedIn.
Yeah, we'll put your links to your bio or to your LinkedIn page and stuff like that.
Yeah. On LinkedIn, it's Dr. Gordon Jones. So it's real easy to find.
Cool. David, anything else?
No, that's it. Just want to say thank you to Dr. Gordon Jones for being on today. I think this is the third time we've been on a call in the last 2 weeks, so we're getting to be,
and they've all lasted over an hour.
we're getting to be pretty good buddies. So next time I'm in South Carolina, I'm gonna pickle zone a match. We're gonna find a club.
So hey, listen, I'm speaking at the AI Summit in Charleston, South Carolina, March the. Oh, shoot a monkey. I don't have it in front of me. Hold on a second. March the 26th through the 28th in Charleston, South Carolina. And we're going to have some play over at the Crush Yard.
Okay.
Which is in Charleston.
Yeah.
And I actually haven't told the Crush Yard that yet, but when's this going to go out?
Probably within 2 weeks. Yep.
Yeah, make it within 2 weeks, and then that'll send everybody to join us at the AI Summit.
Okay. Yeah, we'll put.
And I'm going to start working on Crush Yard right now to make sure we have some courts to play in.
And we'll make sure to put that in the thing as well. I'm going to actually stop recording.